At dinner, my dad pushed my 9-year-old from her chair and barked, "That seat's for my real grandchild." She fell to the floor. No one moved. I didn't yell. I just said 5 words. My dad's glass slipped from his hand. My mom froze. My father shoved my 9-year-old daughter out of her chair at dinner. That's how it started. No lead up, no arguing, no warning signs. One second she was sitting at the table like everyone else. The next she was on the floor looking up at him completely stunned. He didn't even hesitate. Didn't look down. He just sat where she'd been and said, "That seat's for my real grandchild." No one moved. No one said anything. My mom just sipped her wine like nothing had happened. My sister stared at her plate. Her husband picked up the baby and turned away. Lily didn't cry. That's what stayed with me. She just stood up slowly, brushing off her dress, confused. Hurt but more embarrassed than anything else. Like she thought maybe she'd done something wrong by sitting there in the first place. I looked at my father. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I just said 5 words. "You're done. Mortgage help's over." The wine glass in his hand slipped. It hit the edge of his plate and shattered on the hardwood. No one breathed. His face went pale. My mom's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Even the baby stopped fussing for a second, like the whole house paused. We left. I grabbed Lily's coat and my purse and we walked out. My mom called after me, but I didn't turn back. I didn't have to. They knew exactly what I meant. For the past 6 years I'd been paying half their mortgage. They were behind when the 2008 crash hit and I stepped in. Quietly. Without being asked. I've been helping ever since. My dad never said thank you. Not once. My mom acted like I owed it to them. Like they were entitled to my support because they raised me. And still I came every Sunday. I brought Lily. I cooked when mom was tired. I bought the groceries more times than I could count. I kept them in that house. But tonight? He called Lily not his real grandchild. Because she was born before I got married. Because her father left. Because she didn't look like the baby they were all cooing over in the bassinet. I didn't sleep that night. Lily crawled into bed with me around 2 a.m., holding her stuffed dog like she used to when she was 5. She didn't say anything, but I could tell her mind was going in circles. I told her none of what happened was her fault. That some people don't deserve to be grandparents, no matter what title they were given. By morning I knew I wasn't going back there. 3 days passed. Then someone knocked on my door. It was my mother. She was crying. Not just crying, shaking. I didn't say anything as she stepped inside, her purse half unzipped, mascara smudged like she hadn't slept. She said the bank was moving to seize the house. She said they were 2 months away from foreclosure and they couldn't afford the full payment without my share. He begged me to help. Said she didn't know what to do. I told her I wasn't going to fix it. That I meant what I said. That if my daughter wasn't family to them, then neither was I. Then I closed the door. She stood there for a while. I could hear her muffled sobs through the wood, but I didn't open it again. That was the last time I saw her. For a while anyway. But it wasn't the end. Not even close. 2 weeks later my sister called. I let it go to voicemail. She tried again. Then she started texting. First it was about our mom. How she wasn't eating, how stressed she was, how she didn't mean for any of it to happen. Then came the guilt trips. Said I was punishing our parents over one bad moment. One bad moment. That's what they called it now. Not a shove. Not public humiliation. Not the emotional sucker punch that made a 9-year-old girl feel like trash. Just one bad moment. I didn't answer. I stayed quiet. I focused on Lily. We went to the park, we baked cookies, we watched old movies she liked. But she wasn't the same. I could see it in the way she hesitated before speaking, like she wasn't sure if what she said mattered anymore. My daughter, the one who used to talk my ear off about frogs and stars and Minecraft, now waited for permission to have opinions. It burned. On the 3rd week I found out they'd missed another payment. How? My name was still on the joint account I used to pay their half. They never removed me. I logged in just to confirm something for taxes and saw the overdue notice. 32 days late. I logged out and made an appointment to remove my name the next day. That night my dad texted me. Not a call. A text. Said he hoped I was proud of what I'd done. Said he and mom were on the brink of losing everything because of my little tantrum. He actually called it a tantrum. Then he told me I had no idea what it was like to be a parent. That part made me laugh. So I replied. One word. Walked. Lily asked if we could stop going to Grandma's house forever. I told her yes. Her smile was small, but it was real. By the start of the 4th week, they listed a bunch of things for sale on Facebook Marketplace. Furniture. My old bike. A dining set they swore was a family heirloom. I watched it all vanish piece by piece. I didn't feel good about it. But I didn't feel bad either. Then came the letter. It was taped to my door. No stamp. Just a sheet of lined paper in my dad's handwriting. I knew it immediately. He always made his capital G-S like a backwards 6. It was short. Agree. Said I had turned my back on my own blood, and that if I thought they were going down without telling the world what kind of daughter I was wrong. Threats. From the man I used to think would walk me down the aisle. I burned the letter in the sink. A week later they lost the house. I didn't even find out from them. I found out from a neighbor who texted me a photo of the moving truck and a caption. Is everything okay? Your mom looked like she was crying. They were gone by the afternoon. No forwarding address. No message. And still, even then, part of me kept waiting for a call. It never came. It was a full 2 months before I found out where they went. They moved into a single rented room above a liquor store in a part of town I hadn't been to since high school. I didn't go looking for them. It just came up in conversation when an old coworker mentioned she'd seen my dad coming out of a bodega, looking like he hadn't shaved in weeks. Apparently he was picking up job applications. That image sat in my head for days. My father, who used to brag about how he'd never work retail, now walking into corner stores with a folded resume in his hand. The same man who once said he wouldn't even hire someone with a gap in their employment. Now he was the gap. Lily started to forget their names. I didn't stop her. One afternoon she asked if we still had that family photo from Grandma's fireplace. I said no. We didn't. That wasn't our family anymore. I'd started therapy by then for both of us. Lily had this quiet habit of flinching whenever an adult raised their voice, even if it wasn't angry. At first I thought it was just my father, but the more we talked, the more things came out. Things I hadn't even noticed. How my mom ignored her. How my dad interrupted her every time she spoke. How they never asked her anything about school or friends, just told her to stay quiet when the baby was around. She'd learned to take up less space without anyone ever telling her to. And I hated that I hadn't seen it. One morning my mother emailed me. No apology. Just a list of bills they couldn't pay. Rent. Utilities. Prescriptions. No greeting, no signature, just numbers. And at the bottom, please. Your father won't ask, but I will. I didn't reply. Instead, I finally told Lily the full story. Not every detail, but enough. She was old enough to understand who she was. And who she wasn't to them. She nodded and said, "They don't love us, do they?" I said, "No, they don't." And she said, "Then I'm glad we're not going back." I didn't cry when she said it. But I thought about it all night. 3 days later my dad showed up at my office. Just walked into the lobby like we were still on speaking terms. The receptionist buzzed me, confused. Said there was an older man here insisting I'd want to see him. I told her to tell him no. He waited in the parking lot for over an hour. He didn't knock on my car. Didn't chase me down. Just stood by the bench outside, staring like he couldn't believe I was really going to walk past him. And I did. The next day I changed the locks at my house. I'd never given them a key, but I wasn't taking chances. Then it got quiet. No calls. No emails. Nothing. Until something happened I never expected. Lily's school called. They said a man had come by asking to drop something off for her. No one gave it to her, thankfully. They knew something was off. The man hadn't left his name. Just said he was family. When they described him I knew. My dad. He'd brought a gift. Wrapped in red paper. I told the school to throw it away. That night I called a lawyer. Because now it wasn't just about the mortgage. It was about protection. The lawyer didn't even blink when I told her everything. I laid it all out. The dinner incident, the financial cutoff, the emails, the surprise office visit, the school drop-by. I thought maybe she'd say I was overreacting, or that I didn't have a strong enough case. He didn't. She called it harassment. Said we had more than enough to file for a protective order, especially with the school involved. Said if my father showed up anywhere near Lily again, she could help make sure it would never happen a second time. It was the first time in months I felt like I had any control left. We filed the paperwork the next morning. It took less than an hour. The court date was set for the following Tuesday. That same night my sister emailed me. I hadn't heard from her in weeks. I almost deleted it without opening, but something about the subject line, "Don't punish them forever," made me stop. She said they were barely getting by. That dad was working nights stocking shelves and mom had taken some sort of temp job at a check cashing place. That their landlord had already threatened eviction once. She said they're too proud to say it, but they're breaking. Can't you just help them until they get back on their feet? And then she added something I wasn't ready for. You were the golden child, Emma. You were always the one they expected to save them. I sat with that for a while. I'd never seen myself that way, the golden child. Growing up, it always felt like I was the convenient one. The quiet one. The useful one. The one who didn't argue when they needed something. The one who kept her head down and her grades up while my sister got to blow up and disappear and come home when things got hard. But maybe that was the point. Maybe they didn't love me. Maybe they just relied on me. There's a difference. When I didn't answer the email, she showed up at my house. Lily was at a friend's. I opened the door only because I didn't recognize the knock. My sister looked awful. Thin. Tired. Holding a paper grocery bag that had clearly been reused more than once. She asked to come in. I said no. She stood on the porch and told me the real reason she'd come, that our father was furious about the court papers. Said he was going to contest everything. Said I was trying to destroy them publicly. Said if I testified he'd make sure I regretted it. I stared at her. She waited. She wanted me to ask questions. I didn't. Then she got mad. Told me I was turning into him. That I was cold, unforgiving, cruel. I closed the door. 3 days later someone slashed my tires. I couldn't prove it was him. No cameras, no witnesses. But I knew. That morning I bought security cameras and installed them myself. Then came the court date. My dad didn't show. My mom did. She sat alone in the back, clutching her purse with both hands like it might blow away. She didn't speak. Didn't look at me. When the judge granted the protective order, she just stood up and walked out. Lily never knew about the court. I didn't want her to. But that weekend she hugged me while we were brushing our teeth. Said I was the safest place in the world. It nearly broke me. But it also reminded me why I was doing this. We weren't running anymore. Let them fall. We were already free. It was almost peaceful after that. Weeks passed without a single call, message, or surprise appearance. The protective order meant my father couldn't come near me or Lily, and after the tires I filed a police report too. The officer I spoke with said there wasn't much they could do without proof, but having it on record mattered. It added weight if anything else happened. But nothing did. At first I waited for the other shoe to drop. Some revenge move, a legal notice, even a smear post on Facebook. But there was nothing. It was like they'd vanished. Lily started sleeping better. Her teacher said she was talking more in class again. One even said she was funny, like she'd been holding jokes in for years and suddenly decided to let them out. We went to the beach one weekend. Just the two of us. On the drive home, Lily told me it was the happiest she'd felt in a really, really long time. I didn't ask her what that meant. I just let her say it. And I kept driving. Then one Friday evening I got a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. It was my father's voice. Raspy. Hoarse. And quiet. He said I lost my job. That was it. No hello. No asking for me. Just those 4 words, like a confession dropped into a void. I deleted it. The next message came 2 days later. This time from my mother. She said they'd been given an eviction notice. 2 weeks to vacate. She said the landlord was a monster and wouldn't work with them. She asked if I could just help with this one last payment. Just enough to get them through the month. She said, we're not asking to come back into your life. We just need help. But that's the thing. They weren't just asking for rent. They were asking to erase everything that came before it. The insult. The silence from my mother when it happened. The way they made Lily feel like she didn't matter. The way they treated me not like a daughter but like a resource. Like a safety net they could spit on and still expect to catch them. That night I took out an old photo box. The kind with pictures from birthdays, graduations, road trips we took when I still believed we were a real family. And I started tearing. I didn't stop until every photo with them in it was gone. Lily found me in the kitchen with the trash bag and asked what I was doing. I told her we were making room for new memories. She smiled and said, good. I didn't like that picture anyway. The next week I heard from a former neighbor who still lived on their old street. She messaged me saying she saw my parents moving things into a rusty trailer behind an auto shop a few towns over. No heat. No proper kitchen. My dad was yelling at someone in the parking lot. My mom looked thin. I didn't reply to the message. But I did sit with it. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel bad either. I felt done. Until the letter came. Not a text. Not a voicemail. A real letter. And this time it wasn't from my dad. It was from my mom. The envelope had no return address. Just my name. Inside, a single sheet of paper. Handwritten. It said, Emma, I know you hate us. I know we don't deserve your help. But your father is sick. He won't go to a doctor. He's coughing blood. He thinks it's just a cold, but I know it's worse. He's too proud to ask. I'm not. I'm asking. Please. Mom. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. I didn't call. I didn't write back. I didn't know yet what I would do. But something in me had already shifted. I didn't sleep that night. The words from that letter kept echoing in my head. He's coughing blood. He thinks it's just a cold. My father, the same man who used to lecture me about discipline and strength, now apparently too weak to walk into a clinic. Or maybe just too stubborn. I kept thinking about how my mother didn't say she loved me. Didn't say she missed Lily. She hadn't even said she was sorry. Just please. It wasn't an apology. It was a last-ditch effort to keep me on the hook. But what haunted me wasn't the letter. It was the part of me that still wondered. What if he dies? Would I regret it? Would I carry that forever? That's what they counted on. That tiny, buried instinct to protect, even after everything. I didn't tell Lily about the letter. I just said I needed some time to think. That weekend I went for a long walk alone and ended up parked outside the auto shop where they were staying. I didn't even get out. I just watched. There was a small trailer hitched to the back of a rusted Ford pickup. A folding chair out front. A couple of bags leaned against the trailer wall. My mother came out first, wrapped in a coat 2 sizes too big, her hair up in a bun I didn't recognize. She looked around. Then she sat. Not doing anything. Just existing. 15 minutes later my dad came out. He was thinner. Slower. He bent over coughing and stayed that way for a while. I couldn't hear him from the car, but I could see it. His whole frame shaking like something inside was trying to claw its way out. My mother didn't move. He just watched him. Then he went back inside. And I left. I didn't cry on the drive home. I didn't feel relief or triumph. I just felt confirmation. That everything I'd done was right. Because even now, even at their lowest, they weren't reaching out because they wanted to make things right. They were doing it because they thought I had to. That night I sat Lily down. Told her the truth. That Grandpa was sick. That Grandma wrote a letter. That I wasn't sure if he'd be okay. She looked at me for a long time before asking, "Do we have to help them?" I asked, "Do you want to?" She shook her head. And that was it. That was the moment I knew. I mailed the letter back unopened with a sticky note that said only, "This is no longer my problem." 2 months later I got word through my sister. The trailer was gone. My dad had been hospitalized after collapsing in a parking lot. No insurance. No diagnosis yet. My mom had moved into a women's shelter while he stayed in a charity clinic 2 towns over. She was still trying to figure out what to do next. I didn't respond. I don't know where they are now. But I do know where we are. Lily sleeps through the night again. Her voice is loud in the best way. Her laugh is real. I found us a new place. A house with no memories attached. We planted flowers in the front yard together. I let her pick the colors. Me. I've accepted that I don't have parents anymore. It hurts sometimes in quiet ways. But when I look at Lily I know we're free. Free from guilt. Free from cycles. Free from the idea that love has to be earned through sacrifice. I didn't choose revenge. I chose peace.